It's a beautiful day, a cool one, the 4th of June, 2025. And June wears on already, and we're here to make it beautiful even more and make sense of it all. Good morning. Welcome to your Perfect Morning Starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Kuka.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. As always, we'll bring you up to speed with the big happenings that we're tracking right here in Nigeria and possibly around the world.
I'm Kayode Okikulu. You're welcome. Naturally, we're starting with the sad story that came out of a Thai local government area. That's Bono Thai community. Now, these people, they're farmers. They engage in palm oil refining. But sadly, on May the 21st, they came under intense gunfire from an aircraft, a military aircraft believed to be of the Air Force. And it is said that this aircraft mistook their palm oil activities for illegal crude oil activities. And I mean, you could see from the report, the bullet holes, there were injuries recorded. In fact, a mother said that as a result of that attack, she's not seen two of her sons. And this community is asking for justice, compensation for the ones injured and for the damage done to their community. Lots of questions really to ask. How did palm oil look like crude oil or illegal bunkering? It does not add up, certainly, guys. And this is calling out the Air Force that we must do better. What we've reached out to the Air Force, which will get some comprehensive report on this, certainly, but this does not look good at all, guys.
Well, initial statements revealed that the Air Force is saying, that's Air Commodore Ehime Ejodame, the strike followed intelligence that a significant number of terrorists were massing and preparing to strike unsuspecting settlements. All the same, people have paid the ultimate price for this, and we hope that there's a better explanation for what has happened. We remember Ran, we remember Tudumbiri. Where's justice for these people? Jeffrey.
Well, maybe that's in the north, but what happened in Thai local government is from the Air Force is very disturbing about the level of intelligence. First, we must commend the military for the work they do, but this is outrightly, if it is the Nigerian Air Force as it is suspected to be, because I wouldn't know who is going to use aircraft and be shelling areas beyond their military capabilities. So you can see from here, these are all destruction. So this particular roof, you see, all of the shellings that happened, we're just lucky that nobody died, to the best of our knowledge as we speak, by children, displaced people, terrified. The gentleman said this reminded him of the Civil War. And this is suspected to be the Air Force mistaking this area for illegal, what they call oil bunkering in that sense. And I think intelligence should be better. Let's even say that was an illegal bunkering site. Let's even assume, accepting without conceding that, yes, indeed, these were illegal bunkering sites. If they were not carrying guns and engaging the military, why should the military fire at people? Let's even assume and agree, for instance, that this was an illegal bunkering site. Why shell them? Look at the size of the bullet from an helicopter. So this is just totally unacceptable. We hope the Air Force will be able to come out and clearly tell us what played out, what happened, and who is responsible for this. I'm going to say it again. Let's even assume there was an illegal bunkering going on at that site. If the people are not engaging you, are not carrying arms, why are you firing at them? What happened to immobilizing them? What happened to other means of arresting them? This is just not acceptable. I don't know what explanation will be given, but we're looking out for that explanation. So we're calling on the Nigerian Air Force to give us a quick response as to who is responsible, what happened, what level of intelligence was carried out for this activity, why will they use live bullets from the aircraft, if they're the ones, to fire at people if they are not engaging them in any shape or form. Now, this is not acceptable, and we need to do better as a people.
Absolutely. And from what we know, the standard is you do not engage except you come under fire, or at least you suspect that at least there's an obvious arm coming to you, but clearly palm oil is not the same as crude oil, and even if it were, there was no threat. So it's important for the military, particularly the Air Force, to clear things out, and we expect to get that today. But more importantly, what is being done to ensure that we don't repeat something like this yet again. Thankfully, as has been said by the community, there was no fatality, but there were injuries, loss of equipment, and still loss of people in terms of the mother who's looking for her children in that report. So we'll wait, get some more comprehensive report from the military. But while we do that, let's get right into what we have for you on the program today. Certainly, the 2-year review of President Bola Tinubu's administration is still under review. The Labour Party is still saying that, well, there is a very present danger of Nigeria sliding into a one-party rule. So today on the program, we'll be having a well-rounded conversation. We have the ruling party, the APC. We have the Labour Party chiming in, ultimately for the good of the nation's democracy and ensuring that good governance is delivered. So that's where we start off from on the program this morning.
And of course, yesterday I was supposed to bring you on a program, Sarkin Mota, one gentleman who was an automobile businessman, but the way he markets his business, referencing civil servants in that sense, has caught a lot of attention. And the NOA, the National Orientation Agency, has said, as much as you do your business, I may have humor to all of this. Please avoid mentioning civil servants the way you do. If you don't understand what I'm saying, that's the reason why you have to be on the show, to understand the context of all of this. Is NOA doing too much? Is the gentleman doing too much? Or is this just us catching vibes? What exactly is going on? We'll talk about that right here on the program.
And well, besides that, we'll be looking at the environment pretty much today with specific focus on Lagos. How do we protect our ocean from surges and, from marine pollution, and of course, the consequence of other aspects of human activity. And we'll be speaking with the authorities in Lagos this morning. And of course, how do we deal with that consistent complaint about the smell, of course, for which Lagos state government has responded to. So it promises to be an enriching conversation this morning as far as the environment is concerned.
Certainly. So it's a packed show for you. You can be a part of it as always via WhatsApp or mail. Let us know what you think. First, that attack on the community Mota in Thai local government area in River State. You can let us know your thoughts on it. Of course, the president's review is still here. We're counting down to the review of the national and state assemblies on later on this month. That's June the 13th. So it's a lot we're packing together on the show. So WhatsApp, absolutely send your messages in. We're going to take feedback at the end of the show, and of course on our email as well.
So absolutely. So where do we go from here in the conversation? But just before we run away, congratulations to Super Falcons. I must say that. Brilliant performance by Ajibade and the girls for making us proud. Silencing the lionesses. Let me finish. Making us proud. Yesterday at the MK Abiola Stadium, we were happy, 2 goals down, something to cheer about. That is, I like football, I like sports, because that's where we don't talk about APC, PDP. We rest from all of that. We rest from North and South ethnicity. So the girls keep flying our flags high. We congratulate them. Those 2 goals, they were clinical, and I could describe them. But in case you didn't have a chance to watch it, there's something called YouTube. You may just type it. Highlights of the match. Thank you.
The boys always make us proud too. Okay.
Well, the girls make us prouder. If there's a word like that.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
I'm more proud.
The boys just won the Unity Cup.
And it's a bright start to the championship, that is coming up, and we hope that the girls will bring the cup home again.
Well, this was a friendly.
So we have 2 back-to-back victories.
The 9th or the 10th time,
Which is good, but the boys also won the Unity Cup.
Yeah, they won the Unity Cup beating Jamaica. So we beat Jamaica and everything. Football, we beat them in dance hall. Sorry, maybe not
and
that.
There are
but
cups,
anything.
And there are cups. Right?
Can we move on?
The Unity Cup is a cup. Let's celebrate our boys and our girls. But big ups, both Super Eagles, Super Falcons. I mean, I can go on. And Bukola, this is not a takeaway from the Super Falcons.
Not at all.
Congratulations, Super Falcons. Keep winning. Well, with you all the way.
Definitely. So what are the front pages saying? We're going to give you a sneak peek into at least the dailies today through the front pages, how they're reporting the happenings across the country. So the dailies are up in a moment. Stay with us. All right, so let's get started with the Vanguard newspaper for you this morning. The Vanguard leads with the Niger flood. Oh yes, there's still a very present humanitarian challenge in Niger State. There's still dozens of people missing. The death toll is at least 200 now, over 200, I should say. And the Vanguard is leading with that humanitarian situation, particularly the larger picture now for Nigeria, now when it comes to flooding and the rest. You see, 1,249 communities in 30 states and the FCT at risk. And that's according to the federal government. So just in case you were watching the Mokwa situation in Niger State and you're thinking, well, this is in Niger. Well, this is far away. Thank God I'm not affected. Well, guess what? Your community may be amongst the 1,249 communities in 30 states that are at risk of flooding. So this is a time for everyone to be on guard, as they say on the street. But take a look at the explainers. It says no water was released from Kainji Jeba dams. You see notes that flood caused by heavy rainfall heightened by global warming as states take up FG's challenge. So there's a list actually of the states. I'll just run through it. High flood risk states: Abia, Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, Anambra. Now I'm taking the pain to mention these states: Bauchi, Bayelsa, Benue, Borno, Cross River, Delta, Ebonyi, Edo, FCT, Gombe. You know what? You check the rest. I have read half. So you can go on either NIMET's handle. These things are reported also on channelstv.com. So you see if your state is a part of it, and you can begin to ask the questions, look around you to ensure that no one is caught napping.
All right, from the Vanguard, let's head to This Nigeria is the next paper we're looking at. And it leads with this assessment. There's been the back and forth between Afenifere and the president's. Afenifere is the Yoruba Sociocultural Group, and they did blast the presidency about the performance. And when the presidency replied, well, he said, my government hasn't failed. Tinubu confronts Afenifere. So this is the presidency now replying. Presidency says factional groups position jaundiced, misleading, partisan on the side of opposition, list growth in GDP, fuel subsidy removal, cash transfer to the poor, EFCC seizures, including suspension of Beta Edu, among successes. I like the listing.
Say that again.
Okay, you want to hear it from my mouth? It's on the front page. It's EFCC. What is going on? But this is serious, by the way. So the presidency replying to Afenifere and saying, look, I don't know what your scorecard is. I don't know by what assessment you're looking at, from what prism you're looking at us. But from our books, we have done well. And there's in this Afenifere is jaundiced with opposition and all of that. The listed growth in GDP, fuel subsidy, removal, cash transfer to the poor, EFCC seizures, including the suspension of Beta Edu, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, among successes. So that's as far as that listing is concerned. If you want more, an explainer, perhaps you go to the front page of the
This Nigeria.
Page 4.
Okay,
actually.
this
The inside
Nigeria.
pages.
It's inside pages.
So this also sounds like an indictment in that
Yes.
sense. So when you mention the suspension of Beta Edu, you know, sometimes when you're silent about something, people forget right, and they move on. But now that you've brought it back, let us speak to you about what the appropriate thing should be, right? So you suspend a minister over allegations of corruption and all of that. It shouldn't end there. If indeed she's guilty or not, there should be a judicial process. There's an investigation, a process through the courts, and then we now make a pronouncement and say this is indeed a win or not. But suspending and going quiet, I think, in fact, what you're doing is tainting the image of the administration and reminding Nigerians that this is a job left undone. You can't just leave Nigerians in limbo. For all you care, this woman may have been innocent, right? But we don't know because there's been no investigation. There's been at least no outcome of that investigation in the courts, so we don't know.
And again, in addition to that, when we interviewed the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, I did ask him that I'm going to call people in my village to get to know whether this cash transfer, because I have people in my village that are poor, apparently, like every other village. He said, no, don't just call any random person. I'll send you people in your village. Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, the only way I believe this money works, I want to see the names. I have my way. I'm a journalist. I'll find out whether really money goes to these people. And if it is, at least for those set of people I can guarantee, we'll tell the story here. But we haven't seen it yet. So this cash transfer thing is one of the ways that we're not very sure of how effective it is. Maybe it's going on, but how effective, or people are squandering the money as usual, we do not know. But Nigerians don't really believe in this social investment program as far as cash transfer is concerned at the end of the day.
And, you know, listing the suspension of a minister quizzed in, you know, circumstances that are far from, you know, legitimate, or if you like, in line with due process, you know, as far as ministry movement of funds is concerned in ministry, you know, leaves much to be desired. So there's a redefinition of what achievement is in that sense. So when you suspend a minister under your own administration, is it an achievement of the fulfillment of promises made to the people? You know, I'm just asking, and these are questions that Nigerians should be asking as well of the administration. Whether or not there are political undertones in groups calling out the administration over the delivery of the dividends of democracy, what are you saying about the promises that Mr. President made to you ahead of the campaign and, of course, on May 29, 2023, when he took office? That's the more important question, and that's the more important thing that we should be scrutinizing and sending back to Mr. President. Mr. President, you promised this, so we're awaiting your feedback as far as that is concerned.
I think we'll still stay on the pages of This Day in Nigeria. There are a couple of other stories as well. If you look at the top right corner of This Day in Nigeria, This Nigeria, I said This Day in Nigeria, This Nigeria, I should say, Nigeria's $1 trillion ambition at risk without policy stability. Nigeria's $1 trillion ambition at risk without policy stability. That's according to the Stock Exchange Chairman, the NGX Chairman. And I really wish we can get this ambitious goal met, but we're far from it. So from the projection of the President in his Renewed Hope Agenda manifesto or promise document, in that sense, he ordinarily incremental in terms of the GDP growth. I think it was projected about 10%, so I can't remember the exact figure. But by 2027, it was marking something in the neighborhood of almost $1 trillion. Let's just put in the neighborhood of $800 billion. But as we speak right now, based on the unrebased GDP, we're still at $182 thereabout billion as an economy. Our economy is like the 4th or 5th largest in Africa. Okay, deregulation played a big role in terms of all of the twin policies of government. So our GDP annualized last year grew at about 3.4%. That's the growth level. I think the last quarter was about 3.6 or 3.8, but if you look at the average of the year, it's 3.4. Yeah. And if we're doing $182 billion right now, you can imagine 2 years' time, how do we get to 1 trillion? But we're waiting for I don't know why the CPI, 2 documents I'm waiting for is the rebased GDP and the National Living Standards Survey, which I know is going to be very abysmal from the NBS. So if they rebase the GDP, I suspect the numbers may be up a little bit more than it is, because more things will be captured. Guys.
Well, I want to introduce you to someone this morning on the front page of This Nigeria. So if you could just take a look at that front page. The person I want to introduce to you is Mr. Bill Gates, CFR. Yeah, Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic. Yesterday, President Bola Tinubu conferred the national honor on Bill Gates. Of course, he's the co-founder of Microsoft and the founder of the Bill Gates Foundation. This happened in Lagos yesterday, so it's going to be a big day. I'll see how it will be introduced today, because today there's the goalkeepers event, which is going to be, you can watch it live on Channels Television. So next time you want to introduce Mr. Bill Gates, make sure to put the CFR.
Yeah, I think he has done a lot for Africa. He's done a lot for the continent and Nigeria. So we also received these honors as well. Our businessmen received these honors, so it's nothing unusual. What was disturbing, and with that picture, maybe put it out at the end of the day, is the president speaking in his own at his own residence, and he had his ADC behind him and his chief detail behind him. For God's sake. I think we're over-militarized as a people. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, I hope the producers at some point we're going to put it up. So later on the show. So the president standing in his own house, his ADC is behind him, and then his chief detail is also, who is going to kill the president in his own parlor or in his own maybe conference room? I really don't know. I just feel we're still in the shadows of the military. I complained about this when the president went to Ghana as a special guest of honor. He went as a special guest of honor. When he was speaking, his ADC was standing behind him. His host, the Ghanaian president, had nobody standing behind him. Must there be somebody standing behind the president or these governors all the time? How many times do you see Donald Trump or the American president stand and somebody standing behind? They're all around. You can't do anything if they know their job. They're standing so that, if they want to do something, they will do something. Anyway, that's another kettle of fish.
Well,
you have the next paper.
And there's nothing that we can actually do about that. I think it's a conversation that has been, done with. But speaking of other foreign nationals that have been conferred with a national honor under this administration, the Indian Prime Minister has also been conferred with a national honor by President Bola Tinubu. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was conferred with the Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, GCON. But more importantly, we hope that these foreign nationals appreciate, the weight of honor that is on these awards. And we hope that, the administration also is forward-thinking and reflective on Nigerians that are doing big things in small corners as well that deserve the award. So let's go to other papers this morning. Beyond awards, we have the New Telegraph this morning. The New Telegraph leads with something other than awards or the economy. Listen to this. Outstanding arrears, minimum wage, federal workers' rights, Tinubu vow to occupy Aso Rock. There's just one rider there. Say civil servants, not slaves. It's ridiculous for federal government to owe poorly paid workers. One president to stay away from contributory pension. Now there's a lot that's beginning to come out of wage awards promised, 35 to 25% increment promised. Just hours before now, Juson issued a statement calling off a strike and asking its members to return to work tomorrow. That will be Wednesday. But the issues that we should be focusing on and asking the administration about is how come these workers are being owed. Issues of wage award were supposed to have been, settled months to this time amid the negotiation of the minimum wage when Labour was meeting with the federal government, and these matters were being discussed also with the minister. So how many more workers, federal workers under agencies of the federal government are being owed? We hope that there would be, no more mass action by workers in the near future. And we hope that, other governors also, the subnationals, are fulfilling the commitment to paying the 70,000 naira minimum wage. Those are the important issues to reflect on this morning. And that's it for a New Telegraph.
But there's this bizarre story on the front page, just beside the big picture showing the president and Bill Gates. You see, man falls from 26-story cocoa house in Ibadan. And witness says, I thought it was a large bird falling from the sky. This is very bizarre, I must say. I understand that investigation has begun. A yet to be identified man reportedly falling from one of the top floors of the Cocoa House building in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital.
That's very depressing, very worrying.
I don't even know how to make it.
What are the safety measures, put in place?
There are so many layers. Yes.
Important infrastructure.
There are so many layers to it. But we just hope that when the time is right, we'll be able to get exactly what happened. Well, insecurity. Let's look at one more story on the front page of the New Telegraph, and that's just at the bottom, just beneath the picture of Bill Gates and our President Bola Tinubu, which has to do with security. So insecurity, time to fence our borders is now. Time to fence our borders is now. This is coming from the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, at the end of, we've been screaming at this. No, we now have forest guards, although the process is still on. We've commended the Minister of Interior for some of the work he's done, especially with visa, passport, some security measures at the airport, a couple of other things as well. But this border issue is a nagging issue that has to be sorted. And the voice of the CDS has been added to this. I think if you go to places like Daura or some parts of Katsina, it's like you just walk into Niger and walk back into Daura. You just stroll in and out, and see the security posts and all of that of the immigration people. So we need to fortify those areas as much as possible so that clearly when you're coming into our country or leaving our country, we know exactly who you are. We can do all the checks and all, but these borders are quite porous, and that's why we have all this infiltration by all these foreign elements invading our country, killing our people, and ravaging our lands.
And if this is coming from the CDS, it speaks a whole lot about how pressing, how urgent, the need for fortification of the borders is. There is the Bola Tinubu Center commissioned by the Ministry of Interior just months ago that provides real-time monitoring of, surveillance of all the borders. But what about boots on the ground, physical security infrastructure, and manpower, to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria should there be any threat? And there are myriad of threats. That's why there's Plateau State on our hands, there's Benue State on our hands. The Minister of Defense, they should be listening to the CDS this morning.
Certainly. Just to take a look at the front page of the Nigerian Tribune for you this morning. By the way, that wall bit or fence will form a major part of conversation in the committee, but Tribune leads with Benue killings. Army chief moves in, deploys more troops, logistics. Police relocate area commander, tactical teams to troubled LGAs. And we had that conversation yesterday with the lawmaker from Mota, who said as he was speaking with us, an attack was taking place in his community. They say gunmen killed 16, burned several several houses and plateau communities. Terrorists killed 3 villagers in Kwara. That's the front page of the Nigerian Tribune for you this morning. Now you can see a picture of a gridlock along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway yesterday. A number of things at play here, but that just gives you a sense as to how events are building up ahead of Salah. There's a lot of things, buying the rams, normally people moving to and fro. It's a big one, so you'll understand that that will cause a major gridlock across board. But that's the front page of
we have the experience here at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, so it's a daily experience now. So guys, maybe we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get to the very first conversation we'll be having on the program today. So the coalition is building up, trying to rally themselves. Well, the APC is also looking at them, responding to whatever it is they say they are doing. So there's been that back and forth, brickbat, if you will, as far as this conversation over 2027 is concerned. Everybody has their own grandstand and grand position as to how well or not the president has done in 2 years. We'll explore all of that conversation when we come back after this break. Join us again. Welcome back. So we're about to get to that conversation where we have two sides to the conversation. So give it a balance as far as the state of our nation, the state of the polity is concerned. And this has to do with the review of the assessment of President Bola Tinubu on one hand, but on the other hand, which is also very important, the conversation around 2027 has started for everybody, both the opposition and the ruling party. So the ruling party has even taken it a step further. They have endorsed the president. Of course, the way it works in political parties, the incumbent, if his term is still, if he's qualified for re-election, he will have the right of first refusal. Well, the APC is not waiting for 1 year in. For them, this president has triggered the right signal, and for them, he deserves a second term. And so at the national summit organized for all stakeholders where the president was there, he was endorsed for a second term by literally all the stakeholders. But the coalition, on the other hand, are trying to walk things around. There has been hiccups here and there and all of that. But they keep releasing statements, using events to make their position known. And so there's been this back and forth between them and the ruling party. Bukola?
Yes, indeed. It's been a very dramatic mid-year for the Bola Tinubu administration, with a lot of assessments coming through from the opposition about how well or not the administration has performed. Of course, you also heard from the Afenifere on the front pages of one of the papers this morning, and the assessment has not been particularly kind, but trust the administration to respond to it. So there are coalitions of those who say they are hungry, and of course the administration has responded to that as well. There is the coalition of the oppressed as well, if you're following the conversation. But let's hear more. It's a critical time for the administration, and indeed for you as well, because you elected them into office. So let's hear more from the opposition and the ruling party this morning as we look at all of the implications and the dramatis personae involved. So joining us this morning for this critical conversation, we have the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressive Congress, Mr. Felix Morka, who joins us from our Abuja studio. Good morning, Mr. Morka, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning to you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, sir. We also have joining us this morning the spokesman for the Obidati organization in the 2023 election and member of that group, Mr. Tanko Yunusa. Good morning, Mr. Tanko.
Thank you very much. And you forgot to mention the interim national coordinator of the Obedient Movement.
Yes.
That is more important at the moment now.
Thank you, sir, for the clarification, the correction. I'm going to start with you for good reason, Mr. Tanko. This is a critical time of the year for Nigerians and the administration. Questions are being asked about how well the administration has performed, particularly with all of the reforms that have been put in place, the floating of the naira, the removal of subsidy, the subsidy savings. So from your standpoint, how closer are we to, economic transformation as promised by the Bola Tinubu administration? Do you see the gains of the reforms coming through?
Okay, let us do a comparative analysis, and I'm going to read from the manifesto of the APC for emphasis and accuracy. And it is very also clear that for us to get these issues on the right perspective, and I don't want to be misquoted, that's why I'm going to read. They call it an honest contract for Nigeria. You know, the manifesto of a political party is a social contract in which you sign with the people, because that is what you canvass to the people. And he said they have three major issues there. They have relief, recovery, and reforms. Now, number one, they said they have a decent life for every Nigerian. A decent life for every Nigerian. At the moment, I cannot quantify that particular decent life at the moment. Two, they said they have jobs. 3 million new jobs a year. 3 million jobs a year. That means, at this year that we are, that's 2 years, that means you will have had 6 million. Probably Nigerians can be able to assess whether we have 6 million jobs being created. And that, of course, deals with the Nigerian youth especially, because that is the strength of the country. Then there's going to be health care for all. Health care for all. His Excellency Peter Obi visited a hospital very close to the airport here in Abuja. On your way to the airport, just by the left-hand side, there's a village called Tungam Alaji or so. You go to that particular hospital, there's only one nurse, no doctor. The maternity ward and all is completely dilapidated, and that is where he makes some donation, about 20 million naira in an instrumental basis, to see he can assist. Just one nurse. Guarantee free education. Guarantee. It is not optional. They said guarantee. At the moment, most of the schools, you can bear me witness. How much do you pay for your child in going to school at the moment, right now? You know how much is it that you pay. Even in the public school, you can assess whether it is free or being made possible for your own, by your own payment. Urban renewal and housing. On my way to Zamfara the other day, most of the housing that they said they had, all of them, almost all the rooftop, you can visit some of the rooftop of the, some of the houses that have been provided. Take a look at indices. It's not rocket science. You can go behind your every state and confirm whether any of these particular housing are being provided for Nigerians as well. Then they said that trickling poverty is safety net for every citizen. Every citizen, the issue of poverty, which is so excruciating at the moment now. I don't know how Nigerians can be able to manage to do Salah. And I know what happened in the last Christmas and all of that. So we are witness to a high level of poverty rates. In fact, interestingly, the northern part of this country is the most worst hit. Talking about Zamfara, Kebbi State, Kano State, and Jigawa State, rated as the highest poverty state in the country, possibly in the world, as the way it is. So I don't see anywhere in which poverty has been alleviated in Nigeria at the moment now. Keeping Nigeria safe, we just saw what happened in Taraba State. Nigerians are being killed like chicken on a daily basis. And even some of the things that are happening as issue of saving, like now, His Excellency Peter Obi just visited Mokwa. We had a flood. Yes, somebody would have said, but probably there was some safety net or being provided, or information or guidance being provided before the people were being submerged by that particular flood. Thousands of people have lost their lives. Sports and culture. At the moment now, Nigeria is at the verge of almost not qualifying for the World Cup. Right. So, but no thanks to the Unity Cup. Thank you for those particular boys who did a big job. But when you come to issue of preparation, of winning or getting things done for Nigeria as is done in a developed country or developing country, believe me, we have a lot of questions to answer. Secondly, now, the issue of recovery.
If you can hear me, Mr. Tanko.
Recovery.
If you can hear me, your assessment is not in doubt. Let's allow Mr. Moka to respond to some of the things that you have said. Mr. Moka.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Well, I'm a bit surprised that my good friend is reading out of a document he ascribes to APC as a manifesto. But even at that, even if that were a manifesto, everyone knows what a manifesto means. A manifesto is a broad statement of vision, of aspiration that a party puts forward as guiding principles and guiding philosophy for its engagement in politics. Now, the program of a president, who wins an election is somewhat, yes, informed overall by a manifesto, but it's a program that is specific, that's somewhat, measurable and achievable. That is not what my friend has referred to, but, I don't think I want to dwell on that. The fact of the matter is that this president was elected for a 4-year term. And we're sitting here attempting to make a review of performance in 2 years. I think we need to be very conscious of the fact that that's what we're discussing. A mid-term, assessment as you framed it. Now, if, anyone is under the illusion that in 2 years that an elected government in our country, like anywhere else in the world, would deliver all of its even more specific goals or objectives, that doesn't happen. There's a reason that the framers of our Constitution allotted a 4-year term to the president and other elected officials to perform. Because in the overall assessment, from comparative understanding of governance, it is clear that a particular gestation is needed for people to think policy, develop implementation frameworks, and actually perform on those objectives. 2-year assessment is fine. But I think that even at that, in the 2 years of this president, I think that, everywhere you look, you see evidence of, really inspiring accomplishment against the backdrop of the circumstances that we faced and continue to face at the inauguration of this president. Now, I think that a lot of the discussions, whether it's stated or not, revolves around, the president's twin flagship policies, namely the removal of, fuel subsidy and the harmonization of, multiple exchange rates. You see, I listen and I go around also, making my contribution when I'm invited. But I have not heard anyone really stand up to vigorously canvass what might be the alternatives to these two policies in the context of our economic realities. Prior to 2023, everyone knows that this country, even before 2023, for decades, quite frankly, that we have been dealing with, complex, generationally created, crisis in our country. That has denied us progress and denied us, but this president did what no other president before him had the audacity or the political will to do. Because those are not policies you make without attendant, unpopular consequences. And of course, without repercussions for the, livelihoods and the cost of living impacts on our people. Which is why many of the presidents before this president shied away from it. Yes, the people protested, Mr. Jonathan tried to do it, people protested and he buckled. If he buckled, listen, I have a lot of respect for President Jonathan, but, it also means that he didn't quite have that degree of political will to decide what was in the best interest of Nigeria. So I don't think that should be blamed on those who protested, rather than on the man who raised his right hand, took an oath to, uphold the Constitution and to do the very best he's able to do for the country. Look, all I'm saying is that this president is on track because no one, I've not heard anyone articulate, nobody in the coalition, the so-called coalition, has articulated alternatives. As a matter of fact, all of those who contested for this office in the coalition, namely Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Mr. Peter Obi, campaigned on the promise to Nigerians to also remove fuel subsidy and, float the naira. Now, there is no romantic way to remove a system of dependency that people have been accustomed to without, discomforting them. There's no way to do that. There's no way that, there's nobody, none of them has come to say, this is how we could have done it, and everybody will be like, still living like, we are eating bread and butter every day. Look, but the point is that those short-term, challenges will dissipate, and are already dissipating with time, and the true, purpose and the true impacts and benefit of these reforms we are becoming self-evident. You can see all of the indicators. Our economy has never grown as it did in the last quarter of last year. Our foreign exchange reserve has gone from where it was, barely, 6 billion to now, upwards of, 30-something billion. Our balance of payment, surplus has never been this good. Our local industries are picking up because imports has declined. We are exporting more than we're importing, which for the first time in a long time. So look, I think if we want to be honest, yes, things are not perfect today, but they were never perfect in the last, 20, 30, 40 years. And, but is it about perfection or about, evidence-based, programming that shows that we're making progress? I think that's really the standard we should focus on.
Mr. Moka, I'll allow Mr. Tanko to also respond to some of the things you've raised. I know we've had this conversation about some of these numbers, and I'm happy you have said that there will be immediate consequence. And this is why you will keep answering this question. Yesterday, you answer it today, you answer it tomorrow, because of two basic things. People are feeling the consequence of the action. The president says he knows what he's doing. There is an undefined destination. There is a hopeful destination, not really a defined destination in that sense. So we have seen a few things as far as the numbers are concerned that are encouraging, but the social impact is what is the biggest problem as to how this should have been done in terms of sequence or not. And we've always said that the balance of trade, for instance, is debatable, even though the facts are right that it's in surplus. But that's what happened when you deregulate, when you look at all of the curves in economics as far as things like this are concerned. But let's leave that. Let's come to you, Mr. Tanko. He's made a very strong point. He said he's listened attentively, he's spoken on panels that he's been invited to, that the coalition is busy talking about power grab, but putting up an alternative idea as to how this should have been done, because they at least all said they'll remove fuel subsidy. As to the harmonization of the exchange market is a different kettle of fish. What could have been done differently if you were to respond to Mr. Moka?
Oh, thank you very much. Ab initio, I've made it clear that I am the leader of the obedient movement, the coordinator. At the moment now, the coalitions will have its own structure and those that will respond to it. But I've been, at least, been part of it in a way. So I can say authoritatively, from our point of view, when you're talking about an inflation rate of about 34% in terms of income and expenditures of Nigerians, you don't need anybody to tell you whether this government have done good or not. All you need to do is just visit your kitchen. Go to your own respective kitchen. I'm not talking about I'm not separating it from anybody, including those in government. They can go back to their kitchen and look at what they are able to get or purchase at the moment now and compare it with what they would have had before. They will have seen the vast difference. Or they should ask their wives, when they go to the market, what they give them to make purchase with, and they can now compare and contrast. You will see a dwindling economy in the system. And these are facts. You don't need to be told. So when you make comparison as regard to balance of trade and all of that, you are not making it in the way that affects the Nigerian people's life. As we speak today, a average RAM, I'm making indices of practical position right now, will cost you nothing less than 2 to 3 or 400,000 naira. Eunice Etonko, in the last 1 or 2 years before the Salah, I bought a RAM at 54,000 naira, equal size or even bigger. This is the practical situation. But we are saying in a different way that, okay, why don't you invest in our agricultural system? Even though in part of their reforms, they said they are going to be agricultural reform. We have not seen any. Investment and borrowing rate has reached skyrocketed high level, which has affected the country. And then you are talking about how you can generate funds for the country. You are talking about the security of the country. You are talking about the level of unemployment that affects every life of Nigerian citizens as we speak. There is no comparison to tell me that probably this government is doing well. Look, when we speak, we are not speaking as if we are antagonizing the government. They should take it as a free consultancy and do one thing out of the so many things that we have mentioned. As an opposition, it is our duty to make sure that we explain to the people some of the things that the government is doing wrong. And when we say this, the government is expected to take a cue from it. When you speak about manifesto, the manifesto of the party is the social contract. There's no second to it. If another candidate uses another manifesto on his own side, that is in his own personal manifesto. Come to talk about the issue of subsidy. As of today, this subsidy that was said to have been removed, it's been paid through the back door. It's been paid through the back door on a continuous basis. And so where is the justification? The major problem that this particular government has is the inability to tell the Nigerian people the truth.
All right.
Nigerians won't kill you when you tell them the truth, but don't meander, don't manipulate. Let them know exactly what their situations are. Don't run away from answering questions, because that's what makes you a government. So as of today, the inflation rate has reached its astronomical high. Unemployment rate is so high, the Nigerian people cannot be secured from going to point A to point B. And then at the same time, the basic indices of survival in this country is at all-time low. And then we keep on meander and manipulating and saying probably this government is doing well. Obviously, no, sir.
Well, Mr. Tanko, let me come to Mr. Moka now to get his response. And here's the thing, Mr. Moka. So we've seen the coalition, former minister, for example, Rotimi Amechi, was saying he's hungry. And we've heard Mr. Peter Obi saying, well, he's in coalition against hunger and poverty. So it looks like somehow there is this common thread amongst either the opposition or coalition. They're coming together, or at least they're speaking against hunger. And you know that once they're able to resonate with the people, that's going to be a major threat to your party, either a re-election at the federal level or at the state level. So he has said that you're not telling the people the truth. So speak to us about this. Aren't you concerned that these are real issues and people will resonate with the coalition or opposition, call it whatever, and maybe vote your party out?
Well, thank you, my good friend. You know, when my friend was speaking about RAM and the cost of RAM, in my head, I'm like, well, if that's the cost of RAM, I think, you know, I need to find time and, you know, go back to Delta and, you know, try somewhere to set up a farm to raise RAM and, you know, sell for 200,000 or so that he says RAM goes for today. Look, you know, anyone who understands basic economics knows that in an economy where there's, you know, real reform going on, what this is doing is actually giving incentives to people to produce and to get rewarded for their production. You know, yes, the 200,000 that RAM may sell for today, somebody who is producing RAM is, you know, that's income to that individual or group of persons who are engaged in, you know, RAM farming. And, you know, the whole idea of the reform is to stimulate local production, bring, you know, increased income to those who are productive, and discourage imports. Critically, that is a formula that is, you know, undeniable, that, you know, for economic growth and stability. And, you know, that formula is not different from, you know, our country. Now, to come back to your question, now, because, you know, Amechi or anyone else, whether it's Peter Obi or anyone else, declare that there's hunger in the land, does not mean that Nigerians, all Nigerians, are, you know, are naive enough to simply take that without any context. When anyone makes this casual comparison, you know, oh, you know, the yam or rice used to be, you know, X amount, 20 years ago, and it's, you know, X, you know, Y amount today. You see, that is just being disingenuous. Because, you know, you are discussing an era or a period in our economic history where the value of our currency was simply dictated. It was not, based on any sort of sensible, smart economic market-determined, value of the naira. So yes, if look, let me say this for our people who are at home. What do you think it would take for Mr. President today to declare that, or to in consult with the CBN and other agencies of the federal government, to declare that today, Nigeria will now peg the value of the naira to 1 naira to $1? What do you think it would take this president? If he were to do that, I bet you that this conversation will shut down. All of this, birthday parties that people, put up to, lampoon the government, will shut down. They'll be out of business. And that will almost, guarantee this president, a smooth landslide, victory into his second term. But other presidents have done that. They've dictated the value of the naira. But this president is saying, no, for the long-term good health of our country, I won't do that. So when people say that things are more expensive today, well, yes, in relative terms they are. But, the growth that these reforms will introduce and sustain in our economy will produce the good that ultimately will not only lower prices, will make, goods and services more available and more affordable. That is the pathway of any country that has reformed. And I think, for us who are in the studio, my good friends who are, having this conversation, I think we shouldn't really take hook, line, and sinker some of this framing of the conversation. As, mighty men and women of the pen, we must also interrogate those who make these allegations. For instance, when Amechi says he's hungry, Amechi must be interrogated. What does it really mean? Does it mean he's struggling to provide food, at his table? Or is he hungry for something else? As I said in my statement, is he really, food he's hungry for, or hungry for, just, naked power, because he's accustomed to, having power over nearly half a century of his life? Amechi just turned 60. For 25 years, about 25 years of his life, meaning that, from the age of 35, this, man, that young, was already a dependent on state resources. And, I don't see a commensurate, impact that Amechi has made, whether as speaker or as governor or as a super minister, to, again, demonstrate 25 years of, this opportunity to make changes. He talks about how he was, his passport was taken in Germany and all of that. You see, when an ordinary Nigerian says that, I can relate. But when Amechi, who has had the opportunity to really, put down his footprint, whether it's, in pushback against poverty or in accelerating development in our country, didn't do so, is the one lamenting, like, this ordinary Nigerian who traveled to Germany and had experience at the airport. I am not impressed, and actually that's actually very disappointing for a man of his standing to, come in public to make those kinds of statements. Look, I am also, a democratic operator. I was one of those who fought hard for our democracy. So yes, he was a former governor, he was a former minister, but some of us were in the trenches. Well, we were willing to lay our lives down.
Pardon me, quickly to follow up.
In defense of our democracy.
Are you saying that all that Mr. Amechi has was gotten...
And you all also need to interrogate this, individuals.
Mr. Moka, can you hear me?
Say so, not because they're in the opposition.
Yeah, just quickly, before my colleague comes in, I need to get clarification on what you said.
Yes.
Are you saying that all that Mr. Amechi has was amassed from government, from public funds?
I have not said anything like that. All I've said is that as a public officer for nearly 25 years, 24 years, to be specific, that Amechi has been in office and therefore has been a beneficiary, consistent beneficiary for nearly a quarter of a century of government, patronage and, living off of the, benefits of his office. Even if it's just his salary, that's a man who has been employed consistently for 25 years. And I'm saying that, there's no commensurate show of what he has contributed to tackle poverty in this country, to tackle hunger, and certainly to bring Nigeria to development like the president is, criticizing, has done in 2 years. He hasn't even done anything close to that. That's my point.
All right, Mr. Moka, that's your statement comes in quite heavy, and one could ask as well that you know, if these assertions and insinuations are being made from your statement about the lifestyle of ministers, of a minister in a past administration, should we assume that that's the lifestyle of ministers, regardless of the administration that they're under? But perhaps we'll have time to expand this conversation further. Let's come to you now, Mr. Tanku, and ask about you know, very real issues within the Labour Party. Mr. Peter Obi's ally, Obaze, has resigned from the Labour Party over disagreement of the Anambra primary. We've also seen the diminishing ranks of Labour Party members as well at the National Assembly level. And this is impacting, whether you like it or not, on the chances of the party in the next election, especially, you know, the presidential election. I'd like you to speak to permutations about the All Progressives Congress coercing other elements to come to their party. Would you say that, you know, this is responsible for members of your party leaving your party as well?
Well, probably let's put it in a context. The name that is reigning now is about the one-party state. And I laughed because we have seen political parties who attempt to ensure that they emasculate other political parties and call them smaller political party and move in some individuals into their party. Of course, what will happen in the very shortest period of time will be an implosion, which is already started because I heard that some of the persons who have run to the ruling party at the moment are being told that there's no automatic ticket for them. And so what you expect in the next few days or few months is a lot of people who are not happy with the situation, and then they will be looking for an exit point or provide damage in between. So with regard to what we are doing, we are trying as much as possible to cover up all the loopholes, and that is where the enabling environment would give room for all of these. The Electoral Act must be challenged. The Electoral Act being challenged in such a way that it will make it seamlessly fair to all. And this represents the area of how people move from party A to party B without recourse to the fact that they actually, run election on party A at the first place. So, meaning that the Electoral Act must be rejigged in such a way that anybody that wants to leave his own political party, which he has a right to do, but he will leave that political party and leave the seat at the same time. When you leave the seat, if you are popular, go back and canvass for party B. And that Electoral Act must be rejigged in that manner. And at the same time, it is also important to have a proportional representation, because what you see in the system at the moment now is that a winner-take-all syndrome. And that is why it is easy for the party in position of power now to meander, enforce, intimidate, and probably coerce individuals into their party. I can tell you for sure, majority of the people that are moving to party A and party B, as the case may be, are not doing it in their own interest. It's either some of them have a case of EFCC, or either some of them has a corrupt issue that is tied against them. And then the government of the day, of course, in trying to enrich himself with a lot of individuals, we just need to flash some of those particular documents at your face, and then you will come singing the names of the next, the political party. So they will go there and probably thinking that they'll end up being a saint. But they forgot one thing. The majority of the people who are in the position of the voters' card are seriously aware, and they know where to vote for. So it's a warning to anybody that is running from party A to party B to know that the electorate knows exactly who they will vote for, and they will vote for a candidate that they know that will protect them. So invariably what I'm saying here is that we need to have a serious reform as regard to the Electoral Act to make it work. You can't imagine when you have a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria or a member House of Representatives, now you won a seat, then you now look in the eye of the people and tell them, I'm no more part of you. Meanwhile, you've stolen their mandate. So it is wrong, ethically wrong, and intoxicating to our democracy. So for those of us who have been consistent in terms of defending of democracy, it is not for us only, it's for the future. And I can tell you for sure, I have been witnessing some of the people who have left that political party, one political party to another, came out and complained that it was a fundamental mistake that they made. And then time will tell, because the election will soon come, and the people will vote another person that they feel can protect their interest. So in a middle way, the Electoral Act must be rejigged in such a way to protect the integrity of our democracy and make it more flourishing. But at the moment now, this particular government is trying to kill democracy with this issue of one-party democracy that is trying to protect. Anyway.
All right, Mr. Tanko.
Let
me stay with you for a moment before I go to, if we have time, go to Mr. Mota. So one of the things that Mr. Mota has been trying to, which I'm telling him and I've told him over and over, they will continue to defend the policy of this government till as long as people are feeling the pain. Because some people don't understand it, some people may understand it. The fundamentals may be looking right, but the compounded effect has not trickled down to the ordinary person. So what they try to do, for instance, in economics, something called the J-curve theory, when you devalue your currency in that instance, things get worse and then get better if all the fundamentals are right, because it changes consumption pattern, where things are not cheaper for foreigners to buy in our country and forcing us within our country to buy our own product. But when we don't have things like power and all of that, those are the fundamentals that can defect or deflate whatever reform this government is pushing forward. I said that to lay a foundation to my next question to you within 1 minute if you can answer. If you were in government, your principal was in government, Peter Obi, who has also said he's going to remove fuel subsidy or PMS subsidy in that sense. And if you had done that and removed it, and where we are right now, people are crying and say this is getting too much, what would have been done differently?
Let me allude to this fact. Do you know that we have over 20 million Nigerians uneducated? Do you know the level of hunger that is rating in Nigeria is so astronomically high, which we've already mentioned, with statistics? We're not talking about with statistics. Now, you talk about what will a Peter Obi do differently. He has said it right from the beginning, that you are not going to go borrowing for money that you are not going, is not going to be not subsidized for production. The key issue is about production. Production, as we are speaking now, some people are saying that we are producing. I don't see anything that we produce as a country. One thing, just let me know, what are we exporting as a country? What? Virtually nothing. So we invest in something that can be more productive. He is talking about a constant production of agricultural product. He looks at the area and the arable land in the northern part, and he mentioned this yesterday. Even he mentioned it to the government in government house in Niger State. He said Niger State alone is more than Netherlands, and Netherlands is producing output of agricultural product that double or triple what we make as oil in Nigeria. So why don't we invest seriously in agriculture in terms of both livestock and physical agriculture? When we invest in agriculture, we will have things that we can export, and then it will at least dwarf what we are depending on in oil. So the actual issue is that he will invest in production of agricultural product. That's just one state out of the 19 states.
Mr. Tanko, I did give you 1 minute, although I don't think you answered the question. This is your way of answering the question, because I posited a scenario for you. You've talked about production, but I talked about power. I wanted you to go back to where the government met what it is right now and the pain the people are feeling as to what would have been done differently. So, but let's have Mr. Mota give his final take.
Thanks, Jeff. One is, any allusion to APC as responsible for the utter dysfunction in the Labour Party or in the PDP or any other opposition party is just bogus. We're not responsible. They simply have proved incapable of managing their internal affairs, and yet grandstand about how they can transform a Nigeria as complex as our own. Second of all, all of the discussions we've had, the summary of it is that the policies of this administration is in fact, stimulating production. And, look, you see, there's a reason that some of these opposition figures are restless. They know that in the fullness of time, that with what this president has started, with the increase in our productivity, our export profile today relative to our import profile, they know that with time, Nigerians will shut down their television when any one of these individuals come on TV. They are fully aware that this president is headed in the right direction. They are anxious that he must be truncated so that Nigerians don't see the fullness of the really massive impact that these policies are meant to make. Geoff, I'm happy you at least, I'm pleasantly surprised that you're willing to concede that, yes, the macroeconomic numbers and trends are looking good. In 2 years, if it's looking good, then I think that you should be optimistic, and we all should be optimistic, that in 4 years, that a lot of the macroeconomic impacts and benefits of this macroeconomic progress will become even more self-evident. The trend is already in that direction. And I think that we Nigerians need to tarry. Let us sit back again like this and do a 4-year assessment at the fullness of this term and see what it is we have on our plate to discuss. I am confident that in 2 years, by the time 2027 comes, this conversation will be far more, I think, richer and fuller, because Nigerians will be already witnessing on their dining tables, drastic, changes in some of the fundamentals that we're discussing today.
All right. By that, final sentence, Nigerians are wondering if 4 years will be the mark, for the social impact of this statistics that you have quoted to trickle down to the real sector, and to every Nigerian at the lower rung of the ladder. But we're going to have you back, gentlemen. By every standard, this has been a very, very productive conversation. And we must thank you very much. We've been talking with Mr. Felix Moka, the National Publicity Secretary of the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress. And we've also had Mr. Tanko Yunusa, the National Coordinator of the Obedient Movement. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time on the program.
Thank you very much. God bless Nigeria.
And of course, there's more to come on the program. We'll look at the soft side of things, and of course, we'll look at other big talking points as well. Procurement is also top on our agenda this morning. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Mercedes and Mercedes Benz, my brother. Let me tell you something. Not anyhow them they wash this car. As you can see, this car has car wash mode. You have to activate car wash mode so that the car will be ready for you to wash it. Hey! My brother, that car you drive, does the car have to be ready for you to wash it? This car has to be ready for you to wash it. And as you can see, this is a special edition AMG model. Not be the regular one, my brother. Hello, Mercedes.
How can I help?
Change the ambient lights to green.
Okay, I'm changing the color.
Okay, she's changing the color. As you can see, my brother, even up here, the ambient light. Hustle, my brother! And this
Well, Ali Mohammed joins us on the show this morning. He's the CEO of NOA-Sarkin Mota Automobiles. He's live with us in our Abuja studio. Welcome to the morning brief, my brother.
Good morning, my brother. How are you doing? How is Lagos?
I sense that there'll be a lot of my brothers in this conversation, but my brother, Lagos is good.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's good to have you on the show. We had to bring you from TikTok and other social media platforms just to have this conversation. Your content,
yes, my brother,
for many reasons, sort of resonates with Nigerians, but it also got you a love letter from the National Orientation Agency, which we'll just put up now. So the NOA wrote you a love letter, and I describe it as that deliberately, saying, well, in your videos, I've seen you refer to civil servants, and it sort of just maybe denigrates the hard work that civil servants do, saying civil servants cannot afford some of the cars that you sell. First off, how did you receive that love letter?
First of all, I appreciate the feedback of the Nigerian Orientation Agency. I understand their role in upholding public standards, but I never meant it in a condescending light. I am very positive, and I've always been positive about civil servants. To prove that, I have given them so many benefits and so many good deals that they have benefited from. I give out cars to them on loan, I give them warranty, I give them comprehensive insurance, so many things. Yes.
So, to be clear, you don't have anything against civil servants. It's nothing but love.
I don't have, in fact, maybe my humor was misinterpreted, but it was never meant in any condescending manner. In fact, I love civil servants. I respect them immensely because, you know, without a working civil service, we do not have a working nation. They are the workforce and the backbone of our country.
Certainly. And, you know, there's another side of this conversation, which is not, of course, what we'll discuss. But it also speaks to the welfare. A lot of people have said, so maybe we should do something then, improve the welfare of civil servants as much as we can. So eventually, they will be able to afford some of these vehicles. But let's talk about the work that you do. What do I call it now? Your inspiration is quite different, right?
Yes.
You just string together words and different things, and all of a sudden, people are disarmed. So speak to us about that inspiration. Yes. Why did you choose to start selling cars that way?
Well, you know, you have to, first of all, be a big thinker. You have to think big. You have to see yourself changing nations. I see myself as someone who will bring a game changer, who will change the game of selling cars entirely. Because, you know, in a nation like Nigeria, you need to think smart and you need to think hard. This is something that has never been done. I think people have taken the traditional route of buying cars, going to car stand, just buying cars normally. But I see myself beyond that. I see myself making every single Nigerian a car owner. So I sat down and said, how do we do things differently? How do we revolutionize Nigeria and Nigerians, and how do we ensure that they all own cars? So that is when I took to my humor and I brought my videos and I made them so relatable that every single Nigerian, whether you want to buy a car, whether you do not want to buy a car, whether you like me, whether you do not like me, you are intrigued and you have to stop and actually watch my video and listen to what I'm saying.
So, my brother, before we leave the humor, well, beyond the humor part of what you do, maybe we should speak to that part of your video that got you the love letter from the NOA. Unfortunately, it was not what we played, but I can quote from it.
Yes.
In the video, you are seen saying about the functionality of one of the brand of the cars that you sell. You asked AI if civil servants would be able to afford that particular vehicle. And you asked, can civil servants afford you? And AI responds to you, no. Maybe in 2062, and you know, call on people to hustle. And you know, hustle is very debatable in context in this part of the world. So with that particular part of your video, would you say that it was respectful to civil servants, because you said that you actually respect civil servants? If you were a civil servant and you had that portion, would you feel respected?
Well, first of all, when I say hustle, I'm not trying to promote fraud or shortcuts or anything illegal. You know, Nigeria is a country whereby we need positive thinkers, we need big thinkers, because businessmen are the workforce behind the economy, and we need people who are willing to take risks. We need people who are willing to who dare to try. So when I say hustle, I am speaking in a very good light. I want people, especially youths, to not depend on the government, because even the government wants people to go out there and make money the right way. So yes, when I say hustle, I'm not trying to promote anything illegal. And if I were a civil servant, I would just look at it as humor, you know, laugh and like and go. Yes.
Well, fair enough. We'll just have to accept your explanation, and I hope that civil servants accept that explanation.
Yes.
Now, you say that your ultimate goal is to ensure that every Nigerian is able to afford a vehicle. But we see your videos, my brother, and those vehicles are not within the reach of the average Nigerian, not within the reach of the civil servant. My brother.
Yes.
I'd like you to speak to that.
You know, so yeah, I understand that things have significantly gone up. The prices of cars have changed, and that is why I brought the idea of dropping an initial deposit of 40% and spreading the balance within 4 years. So now, which means everybody can, own a car. Everybody can do pass themselves, no matter how expensive a car is. You don't have to save and save and save. You just drop 40% and you go with the car. So I believe with that, no matter how expensive a car is, it is much more affordable to buy from me than other places, because I'm the only one, offering this kind of package. And obviously it is my love for civil servants and Nigerians in general, and my drive for revolutionary change that has, made me sit down and think, how do we impact the lives of Nigerians?
All right, my brother. That's the part I like the most. What you said so far, maybe we'll send you an invoice so that you pay the bills. Apparently. But I'm
Yes.
more interested in your pattern of branding. For someone who sells the kind of vehicles and all of that I talk about, not many people will see them, coming out to advertise and literally hustling in that sense, in a very beautiful way, if you allow me to say that.
Yes.
So tell me about what inspired you to start branding the way you do, in terms of your imaging, to do your business the way you're doing it right now. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anybody try to sell vehicles like the way you're trying to sell. Is it because there were no sales and you just decided to, okay, let me be innovative, or you felt like, I have a sense of humor, what can I do with it? The reason I'm asking is because the way the economy is, everybody has to be innovative to make sales.
Yes, that's true. That's true. First of all, I've always seen myself as someone who wants to be out there, someone who wants to bring change. And I tell a lot of businessmen, the best way to sell your business is to be your business. You have to be the brand. You have to hawk your business yourself. Nobody will do it for you. So, and one of the biggest things that buy trust between me and my customers is that I'm out there. They know who they are dealing with. They see who they are dealing with, and they relate with who they are dealing with. Sometimes some people just behind the scenes, their businesses are running, they find it hard to get customers because customers don't really trust the business. But when you're out there, when people see you out there, they trust you and they relate with what you're saying. So yes, my passion for actually cars and my car business is what drove me to come out and say, nobody will hawk my business for me. I am the owner of the business, so I have to come out and push my business myself. I have to hawk my business myself. And then yes, I've always known I had humor. I've always related with people very well. So I said, let's do it differently. In Nigeria, in particular, we have thousands and thousands of dealers. Yeah. But as I always say, the sky is big enough for everyone. If you are creative, you will survive. So I sat down and I said, let's do things differently. Let's bring something new. Because, Nigerians, they love new things. But before they accept something new, it takes a while. Luckily for me, Nigerians could see what I was doing. They related with what I was doing, and yes, we're in very good terms with them, and I absolutely love doing what I do. So yes, I decided to hawk my business myself because nobody will do it for me.
There you go. So as we wind down, Sarkin Mota, two things. For some, they've said that you are a child of privilege. So that's why you speak that way, that you come from a lot of money, so you probably don't understand the hard work that civil servants or, very hardworking Nigerians put in, on the one hand. So maybe you want to speak to that. Secondly, I want you to officially take this moment to speak to civil servants, if you want to apologize to them and all of that, because believe me, you, believe you, me, a lot of them are not happy. So maybe just take a moment to speak to them and put things in proper context for them.
Yes, yes. Well, about the privilege, I would like to clearly state that since when I started my business way back in 2019 till date, nobody has given me a handout. Nobody has given me a dime, and I started my business without anybody's dime. I started at something we call ensemble, which means somebody that goes out and look for customers for for other people's car. They give you 50,000, 100,000, 150, 200. That was how I gathered money and I bought my first car, a Peugeot 307. The car almost killed me. But, you know, we continued from there. I kept on hustling. I was very, very consistent. I was very, very determined. And I am where I am today. So in terms of privilege, I do not have privilege. And I will shock you that both of my parents are actually even civil servants, so there's no privilege there. So sometimes I am looking for their trouble too when they see my videos, you know. So no privilege. I was very hardworking and I was very consistent, and luckily we are where we are today. And to all the civil servants who are watching this, I want to clearly state that my intentions for all of you are very, very positive. I love you people more than you actually love me, and my goal is to ensure that I make each and every single one of you watching this a car owner. So come and buy cars from Sarkin Mota Autos. I offer a package that nobody in Nigeria currently offers.
You, Sarkin Mota.
No invoice, no invoice.
So, two invoices
so
you will get.
You know the package I offer currently, nobody in Nigeria offers it.
Three invoices.
I offer cars with warranty.
Keep going. 3 invoices will send to you. Keep going.
Comprehensive insurance.
4 invoices you're getting, Sarkin Mota. We have to anchor
no,
at
let me leave it like that. Let me leave it like that.
Well, you get the invoice.
Like
well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Sarkin Mota. Good to see you. All positive. His real name, Aliyu Mohammed, son of 2 civil servants and the CEO of Sarkin Mota Automobiles. Thank you for your time, and wish you the very best.
Thank you so very much, my brother. I appreciate it.
Well, there you have it. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll talk about a very important conversation around the oceans. Oh yes, it's around us, but what are we doing to ensure that we make the most of it, we protect it? Well, we have a commissioner joining us from here in Lagos. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Well, let's come back to Lagos. We've gone to Abuja, now we're back to Lagos. And for good reasons. We're around water. And there's a lot that's going on in Lagos as we celebrate the World Ocean Day. Who else is more qualified to talk about this and every other issue that has to do with the protection of the environment, especially our coastal areas? We're having here in our Lagos today the Commissioner for Waterfront in Lagos State, Mr. Kundayo Alebiosu. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program, and good to see you again.
Same here.
You look sharp,
for having me.
as always.
Thank you.
For those who are not familiar with the big grammar about, everybody knows about the ocean. Everybody, we're blessed with many bodies, including water bodies in our country. Absolutely. Especially those of us who live in Lagos. All you have to do is to drive through and you see all of this. But the world has decided to say there has to be a World Ocean Day. Sometimes we feel that these elements, they have a way to cure themselves or whatever it is as a challenge. Why do you think it's important to have a World Ocean Day, and why is it important to the Lagos State government to highlight this?
First of all, say good to see you guys again. For the World Ocean Day to be a global event means that there's a lot to tackle globally. But what we're going to do is take that opportunity to domesticate it and look at it from the point of view of a Lagosian or a resident of Lagos. How are we treating our waters? How do we relate with our waters? This is what sustains us, and that's why the campaign is wrapped around sustaining what sustains us. The water we drink, it's said that borehole water is the purest water you can get. Where do we think it comes from? And the same lagoon that sustains us in that wise, you discover that isn't getting the proper treatment it should be getting. We just got back we're dealing with coastal erosion at the moment, a severe case of coastal erosion. We've lost several villages along our coastline, and it's important that we restore them, we bring them back. We're talking heritage, we're talking culture, we're talking tradition. These are some of the most important things, besides religion, that makes a lot of sense to us as a people, also as a state and as a nation. To feed us, we depend on our waters. To drink, we depend on our waters.
To travel.
And if you look at where we were when it comes to water travels, where we were a few years ago and where we are now, you'd see that it's completely different from what it used to be. We should look at the impact of our treatment of our waters on the economy, on the environment and so many other things. Now, when you sit back and you look at things, there are a lot of health issues out there. People are advised to stay away from this, to take more of this. Basically, our food is fast becoming our medicine. And a safe option is seafood, particularly fish. Now, with the indiscriminate dredging that's going on, we really have to sit back, think back, and wonder, why is fish so expensive? What do we think the reason is? It's not everything that's based on the dollar. It's only going up because of the dollar. It's there, it's natural, it's nature, it's a gift of nature. And when you look at places where the waters are really being looked after, you'd be amazed at the amount of fish they have available to them. These days, you pick up a piece of fish that much, a croc, and you'd be amazed how much it goes for. Why do we think? And remember, the live ones the fresh ones are even way more expensive than the frozen ones. It should be a case of just putting your hand in water and pulling them out. But it's not. People are dredging indiscriminately, illegally. They're reclaiming land illegally and are not stopping to think about its impact on the environment. People look at it from the commercial point of view. Not at all. The actions of some people, affect some other people negatively. And that's why we're insisting that even where there's nothing bad or wrong with reclaiming legally. Around the world, it's even so celebrated in certain places. It was celebrated in France, in the UAE with the palm Jumeirah. It's no more than reclamation works, but look at how it's being turned around, and they let you don't even realize, you don't look at it from that angle, but it's become a tourist attraction where everybody goes. It's the same here, and that's why we're tightening our nose to say no. It has to contribute to the state positively.
So, Honorable Commissioner, since we're talking about protecting the ocean,
Correct.
In celebration of the World Ocean Day, let's talk about a thorny subject, the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway.
Yes.
Mired in controversy. There is the positive part, interstate connectivity, commerce, promotion of commerce, interstate. But there's also litigation, and there's also the environmental concern, the obstruction of a natural ecosystem, aquatic life. From the point of view of a professional, what are your thoughts on that very big concern and the potential impact on erosion and flooding amid predictions even from authorities as well?
When it comes to matters of the coastal highway, yes, it runs in some areas past our waterfront. However, that lies with another ministry at the federal level. However, it's important to note that before such projects are embarked upon, there are certain things, requirements that you'd have to meet. Like I said, its impact on the environment, amongst a few other things. What was the intention of the coastal highway should be the first thing we would look at. Definitely, when it runs across states, one of the advantages is some of those raw materials, say for example, some of the things we have here in Lagos, by the time the coastal highway is done, it's quickly and easily delivered to the other parts of the country along that highway. There's no way you would come up with a highway and not take into consideration drainage issues of the highway from a professional point of view. And I'm aware that they put several people in place, professionals, who are making sure, who have been required to make sure that all is safe. Think about it with your eyes closed. It would be very irresponsible of any government to embark on a project that will be detrimental to the health, environmental effects, and many other things without taking those things into consideration. I'm aware that the federal government interfaced with different states at different points. And of course, the concerns in Lagos would always be different from the concerns in other parts. Yes, the highway runs through some properties, some lands. Of course, it's for reasons of overriding public interest. It will not go down well with some people. And of course, for those who would be benefiting from it, they would be more than happy. When you consider how long they said it would take with the new highway to move from Lagos to Ondo, for example, if you're cutting close to half the time spent on the road, then you discover it will be worth it by any standard.
You know, it's great to hear the positives in that sense for commerce, transportation, and all of that. But one major concern is that when nature fights back, it's usually brutal. And there's nobody to mediate and say, nature, take some time. It just hits most unexpectedly.
Absolutely.
And it's usually brutal, fatal, deadly. We've seen that in other climes. So I want to bring this back to one simple question. Are we treating our ocean, the lagoon, well in Lagos? Now let's narrow this down to Lagos. If you would rate us on a scale of 1 to 10.
No, we're not where we're supposed to be, and that's the purpose, the reason for the awareness.
Where are we on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would say we're currently at the moment, as a people, I'd say 3.5, when we should be way above that, when we should be way over that.
So what are those things you've highlighted, or you want to highlight that we need to do better?
Yes, you find out that anytime you embark, for example, on a reclamation project, you feel effects further down east, usually. And of course, it's expected that you would put things in place, having predicted naturally where the effect would be. You look at that. If you look at how, take for example, one of the most, iconic projects, reclamation works in Lagos, if not in Nigeria at the moment, is the Eco-Atlantic. Remember that Victoria Island was practically gone. We did everything possible at that time. Lagos State, you know, they tried this, tried the next thing. And of course, eventually studies came up with what one needs to do before even knowing. You need to know what to do before you embark on doing it. At the end of the day, I mean, we still have Victoria Island. What do you think would have happened if Victoria Island had gone? Nature wouldn't have been kind enough to say, it's all right, we've done that, let's just restrict it to Victoria Island. It would have gone further. But at the moment, we were able to say that based on professionalism. Some never believed that it would stand. And as we speak, some still don't trust that nature won't fight back. But every possible professional required was brought into that project. And that's the book we told Leaf from, to say, you know what, this happened here. We should, we just came back from the Netherlands engaging with some companies there, Boskalis, Van Noord, just CDR particularly, because we're looking towards them to carry out our pre-feasibility and our feasibility studies. It's only then they know way more about that, about our waters than I even do. So it gives me that confidence to know that professionalism at its peak is being engaged in order to avert any of those concerns that you've just mentioned.
So let's, as we begin to wind up, let's talk about the pollution. That is a big concern.
That's right.
Especially open defecation and its attendant effect. First, how bad is it?
It's pretty bad, and that's why we have concerns about. I particularly have great concerns about some of the encroachment issues we have on our waters. Of course, you just mentioned open defecation, and what will happen? Does it just break down, or will our marine life still go back and feed on that? You catch that, and that's what you're feeding off of.
Plus plastic waste as well.
Yes, and that's why when Lagos State came up with the ban on styrofoam and things like that, it wasn't because the government wanted to be wicked. I think it was the Minister of, that happens through the Minister of Environment, that we handshake. And it was a campaign towards cleaning up our waters. One of the many ways that we're looking towards in keeping our waters better than it is.
But with respect to that,
yes,
there are communities on water where open defecation is actively ongoing. Makoko, for instance. Now, communities on water are not a strange, phenomenon. They're not a phenomenon just in Nigeria. They're all over the world. What effort is the state government doing to ensure WASH, for instance, is an active project in these communities, such that the communities can be preserved because they have, professions. They're fishermen in their communities, and at the same time, those communities adhere to sanitation rules.
You see, in those climes, those things it's a part of them. It's based on how they relate with water, and based on their relationship with water. The culture of relating with water in the Netherlands, for example, is completely different from how we relate to it. It's cultural, and because it's cultural in their case, they had already taken a lot of things into consideration in planning it. In our case, it was a case of squatting, and we probably didn't react to it in time, and before we knew it, it became a huge community. Now, how easy would it be to move them from where they are? The state already mapped out where they're meant to be moved to, but you also must take into consideration issues of human rights issues and things to make sure that we adhere strictly to all of the stipulated rules. But we have to look at how their being there affects us collectively as a people. And we know the effect of open defecation. It comes with diseases and things like that.
Ongoing conversation, we must say, Honorable Commissioner, but we have to wind down. Commissioner for Waterfront in Lagos State, Mr. Kundaya Alebiusu, thank you so much, as always, for coming through. And we'll call on you yet again when the need arises to respond to some of these concerns about the people, as well as what you're doing in Lagos State. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to the final leg of the conversation. We'll be right back. Join us in just a moment. Welcome back. We'll be joined on the program by the CEO of the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, that is CIPS, Mr. Ben Farrell, joining us right here in our Lagos City. Mr. Farrell, good to see you and thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Great to see you. And this is my first trip to Nigeria, first time in Lagos this morning. Fantastic.
How have you seen Nigeria so far? Have you eaten anything local?
Oh, yes, yes.
What did you eat?
And I arrived, do you know what? I arrived on Sunday morning. It was 4 a.m. in Abuja. And I arrived, everybody's tired. We got off the aeroplane, and we got such a fantastic welcome by the people there. It was a joy. And you know what, one of the team from the CIPS volunteers was there to meet me at the airport. It couldn't have been a better reception, and hats off to the welcome I've had coming to Nigeria. And I've been to a lot of countries this year, actually, in my job, so I've really enjoyed it. It's a pleasure. It really is a pleasure to be here. We've had a brilliant trip.
Fantastic. I'm sure you'll be here to talk with Nigerians and maybe other Africans as far as the issue of procurement is concerned. But let's begin generically within the time we have as to why the conversation around procurement is important.
Yes, I keep saying that this is the moment where the stars have aligned through the nature of global supply chains, the way the world is operating. Even if you took what happened recently with the tariffs out of the United States, I think people begin to understand how connected our world is. And I know that in Nigeria you would like to import less, manufacture more, but your supply chain into Nigeria is so connected to the wider world. How this operates efficiently and effectively is increasingly important, and that's why the role of CIPS, CIPS, Chartered Institute of Procurement Supply, is ever more important. And I've been travelling, talking to governments, and that's why we're here. We've signed an MOU this week with the Bureau of Public Procurement, and we are here. You know, I've been able to announce that our intention is to set up a permanent presence here to work alongside the public and the private sector in Nigeria to drive efficiency, value for money, ethical standards. You know, this is what we've been doing around the world since CIPS came into existence in 1932. And we want to have a much stronger presence here, and we think this is a great opportunity for Nigeria to really flourish, and we're going to help that. That's our plan.
You know, procurement is one term that you think you know and understand, but then it's something you take for granted.
Yeah.
Particularly when you speak to the EFCC, that's Nigeria's lead anti-corruption agency, or the ICPC, they tell you that a huge chunk of corruption happens during procurement, in that procurement, you know, line in that sense. So it speaks to how important procurement is. So I want you to break it down even further so people can begin to understand how procurement works, whether it's in government or in the private space. So we begin to pay attention, because a lot of corruption happens there. At least half of corruption happens in that procurement process. So break it down for government, private sector. What does procurement mean, and why is it important for us to pay attention to it yet again?
I suppose it's sort of defined as our collective securing of deals related to goods and services for the most effective total landed cost, i.e. its value. It's about the value you get in terms of monetary terms. You might include sustainability within that. It may be best related to your overall business objective, the goods and services that you utilise to deliver your organisation's output most effectively. And on the way to getting those, you need to find the best way of achieving that, and that's what procurement does. It goes out to the market and establishes the most effective way of delivering your outputs as an organisation, whether that's through goods and services or whatever is relevant to your organisation at that time.
So to reiterate, or to break it down further, so an organisation needs to get furniture.
Yes.
And a furniture or set of furniture is meant to be 200,000 naira.
Yeah.
But the whole process. But you find out a lot of times that the price quoted is like 1 million, and that's where the corruption is. So you're saying that we can actually achieve the 200,000 naira?
Well, yeah. Let me give you a really good worked example of what's happening here in Nigeria with one of our teams. We have a team led by a man called Chukwudi Uche in Abuja, who's working on a project we call Health Procurement Africa. And this is about the provision of medical supplies in 8 states. And his work has improved the availability of drugs, which is improving infant mortality, and also reduced the cost of drugs for all the reasons you're describing, because it's transparent, the process is increasingly transparent. Go out to the market and you find different suppliers offering different price points. So you begin to get a process in place that gets the outcome that you're seeking. Also through CIPS, we have a standard, and I'm recommending to any organisation that they adopt our standards. And in and amongst those standards, there's ethical training, how to contract and commercially operate within an ethical setting. And I think this is incredibly important, because the point you're making, I keep hearing often here where I'm going, about how we establish an ethical framework. So we're encouraging everybody. In fact, the biggest encouragement I'd give is perhaps at a national level, adopting procurement, rather like if you're an accountant or a lawyer, you need a standard. Through CIPS, we set a global standard, and I think anybody, particularly spending public money, should be required to qualify, and that would get you to a level where you're very, very competent at it and also operate ethically. I think this is incredibly important as a way ahead.
And I wonder if you've heard about, Nigeria has a recently adopted policy called Nigeria First.
Yes.
You've heard about it.
Yes.
And so ministries, departments and agencies are supposed to prioritize buying Nigeria in all of their requirements to execute their work.
Yeah.
And, one of the first things, elements in that policy approach is to get a list of, manufacturers. So from the standpoint of a professional, perhaps you were giving, the contract to execute that policy on behalf of Nigeria's MDAs. What would you be recommending, and how much do you think you can help Nigeria save?
If you can do that in 30 seconds.
Of course. Well, I think we have a set of guidelines and policies which would allow people to understand what they need in their supply base, scrutinise their supply base. We're going to work with the BPP on a procurement strategy for Nigeria, and this is going to get to the heart of the issue around you were describing around Nigeria first and local content, and this is incredibly important to drive the economy, and that's what we're going to help with, driving the economy.
Fantastic. We're happy you're here because we need these processes to be regularized and updated and improved upon so that we have the best for the people in terms of value for money within our public sector. Mr. Ben Farrell is the CEO of Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, CIPS, joining us in our Lagos today. And welcome to Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
You're going to have a good time. Trust me. Yeah. You're going to have a good time.
And we'll give you a Nigerian name.
Thank you.
We'll give you 3 names. All right. Well, that's it on the program. Thanks for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Bye-bye.
And Sunrise Daily is up next, so stay with Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.
I'm Karadoki Kulu. To have a great day.